Hey guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be going over with you guys everything to do with Anniversary 6. Now, I do already have a video on the SSR ticket, and I will probably be making separate videos for Koyanskaya and the GSSR, but for right now, this is going to cover everything else that you guys need to know. So I already put out a PSA about the timing of Anniversary and the fact that we might not see an overlap between Koyanskaya and Oberon's banners on NA, so be careful. If you're unsure about how that one's going to work, I recommend checking out that video as well. But again, we're going to start out here right here at the end of July on JP. So again, this is the dates and the way that JP ran it. But basically on July 27th, roughly 4 days ahead of the actual anniversary, they had the Commemorative Campaign. So you guys should be looking for this to come out at some point this week on NA. Now, again, they may change the timing of things here and there. It just depends. They may actually end up doing this, you know, right at the anniversary or something like that. So who knows? But I definitely need to talk about it. Obviously, there will be a live stream, I'm sure. Again, we know the anniversary panel is going to be July 2nd, so you're not going to see me really cover this, though they did, I believe, actually get some Quartz for it. Yeah, so there you guys go. You guys could see the live stream. Basically, they had a social media campaign that got them a decent amount of Quartz right there. I think that is, let's see, 6 times 12. So, what, 72, I believe, Quartz right there. So not bad. And again, I'm going to say expect similar amounts of Quartz given out for NA, regardless of when it happens and where it happens. Now, for the actual summoning campaign, for the quote-unquote pre-campaign that you guys see here, they did have Sherlock Holmes. So I think you guys could expect that to be the case. They also had some rate-up craft essences from the old anniversary. And again, I do think that this is something to pay attention to because one of them is Chaldea Anniversary here, which is a 60% charge CE. Now again, it's not all attack scaling, so it's not the best one, and it is Arts and Quick, which may be attractive to you, but there will be another 60% CE coming out in this year's anniversary banner, so it's up to you to determine if you actually want to roll there. I think this is going to be one of those banners that we already know that Sherlock has more, so this is going to be a really hard sell for a lot of people with how many banners are kind of coming up that people want to roll on. Again, a lot of you have already rolled Morgan Le Fay or Melisande, so I do think as we start heading into Koyanskaya and Oberon coming up here that there's going to be a lot of people, especially with summer coming after that at some point, that are probably going to go, hey, look, you know, I don't need to roll right now, so it is what it is. We should also get the memorial quest here, and again, you will get tickets for the craft essences, so just keep that in mind. You also get tickets for summoning, and then again, a command code for, again, just some nice additional critical stars and critical attack chance reduction. So I do think whenever you get the time to run this, probably a lot of you guys are going to take a long time to get through 6.2 and the story that just released on NA. But again, when you get the time, work on these. They're certainly worth it, and they shouldn't be too difficult for any of you guys that are, you know, up to date and current with the story. Now, there's also going to be the, again, Heroic Tor craft essences, so you guys are going to be able to pick 2 of these potentially. It's going to be dependent on how many tickets you guys get from the memorial quest there, so that is going to be a thing. But again, you can only choose 2 if you've never done this before, so pick whichever ones that you like in terms of their art, whoever your favorite servants are, you name it. There's no actual real gameplay reason to pick any of these. It just boils down to who you actually like and who the favorite person for you is. For instance, these 2 are looking mighty fine to me, but just kind of saying, they also gave out a questionnaire on JP, I believe, at this point, asking essentially what they wanted for future memorial quests. Again, I don't think you're going to see anything like that on NA, but maybe they'll do it. Who knows? But still, I think that was sort of your commemorative sort of pre-campaign there. And again, from there, as you move into August here, and this is, again, August on JP, for us, this is going to be like July 2nd, right? Is where you're finally going to see our anniversary coming in. And we do also have the Strengthening Quest Part 14. I'll talk about that as we get in here. So, closing down these tabs here. Again, you guys can see 6th anniversary is going to be pretty similar to a lot of our anniversaries in the fact that it's going to run over a span of like a week. Again, the banner should last the full 2-week duration, I believe. But certainly certain campaigns are only going to last that week-long duration. You guys can see you're going to get the 10 great campaigns, which is sort of a staple that we get every anniversary. So just kind of going through them, you guys can see right off the bat here, you guys have a login bonus with consecutive logins and cumulative logins. So again, in a row and then total, right? So you don't really want to break any of the streaks. You want to log in all of the days during anniversary because you're going to be missing out on 10 tickets as well as other stuff. And then if you log in at least 5 times, you will get a grail. Again, you're going to get a bond grail and rare prism. So that's going to be really, really nice for those of you guys that are looking forward to grail casting. That's going to be coming up later this year. Again, after we complete Tunguska at the end of the year, you will gain access to grail casting. I have a video talking about that and how to, again, get sort of the maximum efficiency out of it with regards to rolling out your FP. Highly recommend checking that one out. But essentially, that's where you guys are going to be actually able to functionally 3D print grails in the game. You'll be able to have even more grails for your units, 2 each month. And so it's a really, really nice thing for those of you guys that have very robust grailing plans. For those of you guys that are still worried about being capped out on coins and stuff like that for going to 120, I would say look to JP. This upcoming Annie, we know their anniversary is going to be late July. I believe July 29th is the date for them. And hopefully they give us some sort of announcement there, but that's probably copium at this point. So we'll just have to wait and see what they do. Again, that's sort of your first campaign there. Your second campaign is the Lucky Bag Summoning. Again, they kind of break it down here, and you guys can see there's all sorts of patterns. It is basically going to last the full 2 weeks. This is your GSSR. This is your paid lucky bag here. And how this one works is, again, you have to have 15 paid quartz. And when I mean paid, is that it has to be premium, right? And what that means is that whenever you buy a quartz pack, the amount of quartz that you are given is given in both a paid amount and a bonus amount. The bonus amount is considered to be free quartz, so you paid for it. So the thing you got to understand is when they're talking about premium here, they're talking about only the paid portions. You have to have at least 15 paid quartz in order to do this. That cannot come from the bonus amount of buying a pack. Now, the game does know the difference. It's more up to you to be able to know the difference. So, again, there's various strategies that you guys can do. I actually like to just go ahead and buy the full pack because that's best bang for your buck. But, again, it's up to you. If you don't have a lot of money, just get whatever it is that you need to get in order to be able to buy just the GSSR. And for those of you guys that are, considering spending money here and you don't really like spending money in gacha games, the GSSR is the best time of year to actually spend money on the game. Every other time, it's pretty much not worth it. So that's what I highly recommend is if you're going to spend any money, spend it here because you're guaranteed to get an SSR. Now, again, there's 12 different pools to choose from. Each pool is categorized by the period. It's literally time-based. Okay, and the servants that are released and class, you may only roll in a single pool. So you have to pick one and roll one. You're not going to be able to roll all of these. Okay, so you only get one shot for 15 quartz. So choose wisely. And that is where this does come down to some RNG because the pools are variable. You might get a unit you weren't actually aiming for versus a unit you were. So this is where there's a lot of considerations. This is why I'm probably going to end up making a video on this as to like what to really consider when looking at the GSSR and the pools that are there. Now, again, 5-star servants are picked among one on the feature image matching the banner's classes for the period, and then 4-star units will be picked among the ones released for the banner period regardless of classes, meaning that if you pull the 3 knights banner, the 4-star servants may be from the 4 horsemen classes. So you're going to have a 3 knights, aka saber, archer, and lancer, and then you're going to have a 4 horsemen, which is going to be your cavalry units plus berserker. So you have each one of those, and it'll be like for the duration of a year, right? And then basically these are going to be your 5 stars from each of the 2 pools. And then on the side of that, you're also going to have all 4-star and 3-star units released that year. And so then that will go into this right here. And depending on which of the 5-star categories you roll, you'll get the 5-star from that. But the 4 stars that you get will be from that pool regardless during the year. So it does not matter. And you'll see as I show it up here in a second. And so again, they're kind of saying, so if you were to roll the 3 Knights banner, you might get a 4-star unit from the 4 Horsemen side. So it doesn't necessarily matter. Then 3-star servants will be picked amongst all classes in the banner period, except for limited 3-star servants of that period, as they can appear in each one. So kind of just to show you what I mean right here. So year 1 basically in FGO is July 30th of 2015 through July 29th of 2016. But this is the 3 Knights version. Okay, this is the 4 Horsemen version for the same time period. But the way to understand it is, while these are the only 5-star units you can get if you roll either one of these 2 banners, you can basically get a 4-star and 3-star from all of these. Okay, that's the big thing to make note of there. And again, as we kind of go down here, you guys can see there's your year 2 units, there's your year 3 units. Here's your year 4 units, and it's going to start to get tighter as they released less and less units over time. So again, you can kind of tell how it starts getting squished, especially on the like 4-star and lower side. That's where they really dropped off. The 5-star units, they really tried to keep production up over time, but the sort of lower rarity units, they ended up not doing as much with. And you can kind of see how they somewhat bring them back there at the end. So again, there's a lot of pools to choose from. I'm going to go through that with you at a later date, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of what kind of is going on there. Now, again, so that's the Lucky Bag Summoning campaign, and that's campaign number 2. Campaign number 3 here is the daily paid Saint Quartz summon. Now, I actually haven't really talked with you guys about this. This is something that does get added with Anni 6. It has not been added to NA yet, so this is technically a quality of life. There's some of you out there that are going to say, I hate this. This is terrible. It's stupid. And I hate the fact that it has to be a paid quartz each time. So just like with the GSSR, if you want to be able to spend that, it must be a paid quartz. Your bonus quartz won't count for rolling this. However, basically the way it works is on each banner that exists in the game, you can roll this once a day for the cost of 1 quartz. It's a paid single. So you're getting a single spin. But instead of it being 3 quartz that it costs you, it only costs you 1, but it has to be paid. And it's per banner. So if there are multiple banners, you can roll each of them 1 time for the cost of 1 quartz that day. And that's the way it works. So there is nothing too great about this. There's also nothing too bad about it if you're willing to spend money on the game. The way I'd like to point out is the only downside here is that it does not actually contribute towards the 11 spin, but it does contribute towards pity, which is really weird to me. I'm not really sure why they bothered to make that distinction in all honesty, but it is what it is. So, again, the way I've chosen to view it is if you're a free-to-play, totally ignore this. There's no point, right? If you are a cheap-to-play type of person, you don't like to spend a lot of money on the game, I don't really think this is worth it unless it's like, it's a banner that it's for a unit that you desperately want and need, and you don't want to have to buy a pack, so you're just going to kind of string it along. Still, it's just a single summon. There's no guarantee. You may never get it if that's the case, so I'm not really sure if that's worth. But if you're a whale, if you're someone that's spending regularly on the game and you have no qualms about spending money, then this is actually not that bad. You can sort of spend on a day-to-day basis and just keep doing paid singles. And you might be surprised how doing this over time, you actually get units. I've done this actually a couple of times on my JP account, which I try to run basically free to play. And even for that account, I have actually managed to get a copy of OG Artoria from doing it. So you can get an SSR from it. It's not guaranteed by any means. It's the same rates as always, but it is at least something to consider. Now, again, they do tell you right down here at the bottom, it does not count towards the 11 bonus spin, but it will count towards your pity amount. So that is just something to keep in mind with that system. Again, this is where the servant coin system was supposed to come in. So we already have this system. We already have a pins. All of that exists in the game. So I think there's a lot of people that are thinking that because this system is not here, in order to have 10 great campaigns, that they might be changing it up with something else. They might rob the future again from a future anniversary update in order to bring it to us. And some people have mentioned, and I do think this is certainly possible, that you might see something like Mighty Chains come early. It's also potentially possible that you could get any number of other things, right? So I think a lot of people have a tendency to think that quality of life wise we're actually caught up with JP, but we're not. There's still quite a bit that they have that we wouldn't have. I know a lot of people would like to see blue apples, for instance, come early to NA. I think the devs don't want to give that to us because blue apples are really good for the players. It allows us to structure our time. It allows us to not have to play the game in some days. And so I think they've kind of seen that impact on JP, and they've kind of, I think, tried to combat that already with Ordeal Call and the Storm Pods, kind of trying to give you a reason to still have to play, you know, every couple of days at minimum. So I do think that's something to consider, is that the devs might be against bringing it. So don't get like all upset if they don't give us like Mighty Chains or blue apples or anything like that. And again, if you want an explanation as to what blue apples are and how they work, I have a video on that as well, talking about AP efficiency explained, where I talk all about blue apples. They're functionally a method of sort of banking your AP for a future date. So if you have like, say, 80 AP, it costs you 40 AP to make a blue apple, but it preserves the AP. So essentially you're converting like into 2 blue apples right here, and then your AP is gone. You don't have to spend it at that point then, because it's already been spent down by that conversion there. And then you would still have those 2 blue apples to be able to use for 40 AP a piece at a later date. So it allows you to sort of bank your AP when there's nothing going on, and save it for when there's a time that you actually want to be playing the game, like a lotto or a raid or a, you know, hunting quest, something that you might want to actually farm, or maybe something that gives good rates if it's half cost or something like that. So again, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the devs don't give that to us early, because they realize how powerful it can be. But it just depends. So like I said, you already have the servant coin system, so I'm not going to bother going over this. Hopefully JP fixes this year at their Anni, but we'll see. Obviously, we already have the new Ember Gathering and Treasure Vault quests as well, so this would be another thing that you're probably not going to get as Campaign 5 right here. So I think that would be another potential one for another quality of life replacement for the future. Now, talking about Campaign 6 here, though, you guys probably will get this. Main quests and free quests will have higher level experience cards. Oh, wait, no, hold on. I believe we already do have this. I actually don't know. They may not have already brought this one to us. They may have. If anyone in chat knows, feel free to comment, and I'm sure the viewers here will know. But again, this one's not a huge one. It's nice for the newer players. It's nice for the people still leveling up as they're going through the story. But for those of you guys that are veterans, this won't even register on the radar for you. So it is good, but I do believe that one already came to us. Now, again, you are going to get the storage and QP limit expansion here. This one is going to be nice, and we don't have this because this is sort of a revolving door type of situation. Every anniversary, they have a tendency to increase the amount of storage that we have. It's a good thing because it's always clutter, and we always need even more. Particularly on the command code side of things, it's kind of ridiculous, since whenever you use a command code, it stays in your inventory. So command code bloat is always going to be a factor, especially if you're rolling out your FP on the regular. Now, the servant storage and craft essence storage definitely helps you guys too, as that's just going to increase the amount that you can currently hold. But then you're also going to get the second archive stuff. And actually, yeah, I believe we already have the QP expansion here. The expansion to 2 billion already happened on NA. But again, certainly nice to have more storage in your second archive too, as that's just going to allow you, whenever you're like, you know, rolling out your boxes at the end of a lotto, it's maybe just more stuff you guys can hoard for the future. A lot of you guys will go servant to servant. You'll literally just immediately spend down all of your resources when you're new to the game. But for those of you guys that have been playing for a lot longer, you maybe have all of your units leveled up. And so we try to store our embers. We try to mailbox stuff, and we try to basically throw everything in the second archive that we can, so we can hold the maximum amount of potential capability for future leveling and stuff like that. And it's really good, especially now that we have the leveling system for, you know, being able to grail beyond 100, and that allows you to kind of at least have some extra embers that you can maybe hold on to until there's like a 2 times or 3 times success rate, which there are some good ones coming up, including right here at Anniversary. So again, we're also going to get new extra missions. These are going to be your milestones that are going to be out there. this is where the majority of your quartz is going to come from Anniversary. So as you guys can see here, completing Lost Belt 5, completing 5.5, aka Hand Kyo there, that's going to get you 20 quartz. You're going to get new milestone increases for, again, strengthening quests up to 200, and that's going to get you another 60 quartz right there from that. You're going to get basically 20 more for 2 more sets of interlude milestones. And then you're also going to get 20 more for clearing main record free quests. So again, there's a lot here, but a lot of it is you're going to get this only if you've been playing the game, only if you've done a lot of the strengthenings, done a lot of the interludes, done all of your free quests. So keep that in mind for you newer players. You're probably not going to get a huge chunk of quartz from this. However, there's still going to be more quartz to come, so don't worry about it too much. Again, during this time period, your daily anniversary missions also are doubled. You're going to have basically 20 mana prisms given per each time you clear something rather than 10. And again, it's only for the first 3. That's why they're daily. It's literally do any 3 things in a day, and that'll get you your mana prisms. So instead of it being 10, it's now 20 is the way to think about it. And then again, campaign number 9 here is just going to be St. Cord's reward for clearing interludes has been doubled. So any interludes that you've already done, you're going to get more quartz for that. And so this could be up to 138 extra quartz for those that have done every single interlude. Again, I would assume that that's going to be wildly depending on the veterancy of your account, how long you've been playing, as well as how many servants you've collected. And certainly, even if you've done all of those things, if you haven't actually sat down and done the interludes, now's probably going to be a good time to do them in order to actually get, again, more quartz for your rolls. And then, again, you got half AP Ember Gathering, Training Field, and Into the Treasure Vault, which is what I thought that one campaign was that I was talking about earlier. All daily quests are going to be open during this duration. So not only is it half cost, you're literally going to have everything. So all of the Ember Gatherings are going to be available. All of the Training Grounds are going to be available. And then Treasure Vault, which is just its normal one. And so all of them are available, and they're all half cost. This is a really good time to farm for those of you guys that want to work on a unit, want to try to get them leveled up, especially because remember, it's even going to include the 90 plus Ember Gathering for those nice 5-star Embers. So it's up to you to determine what you want to do during the anniversary. Just remember, you're probably going to have those memorial quests. You're probably going to have story to catch up on, but it's up to you. So again, this is also where we're going to get great and super times success rate ×3. And this is really nice. This is arguably the best time in the year to actually, again, level up units. But with regards to rolling out your FP, it's a great time to make craft essence bombs and level units. It's not the best time to roll out your FP. The best time to roll out your FP actually comes after this, during Gouda 5 rerun. Because not only do you have a low star unit on raid up that is going to allow you to get even more servant coins for grail casting later, but you're also going to have craft essences in there that give experience. They're fodder craft essences, so they're going to be really good for making craft essence bombs. So essentially, rolling out your FP is going to be amazing there, but then if we're lucky, it'll happen like it did on JP, and it might also overlap at the end of that event with a 2x success rate, which would be the best of both worlds, and that would be one of the reasons that it might potentially be the best time ever to roll out your FP in the history of FGO. But again, 3x success rate is still really good for those of you guys that have, maybe millions upon millions of QP, if you've done like a lot in the lottos and stuff like that. Again, sorry, not QP, FP. It's certainly okay to go ahead and roll some of it here at Anniversary if you so choose. So again, if you choose to occupy your time by rolling out your FP, that's perfectly fine. For those of you guys that want to delay until Gouda 5, that is also fine. Keep in mind too, I recommend saving some FP for Habitrot. You will be able to roll her from the FP pool once you've finished Lost Belt 6.3. So that's going to be coming after Anniversary. Again, like I talked about in the video about the timing of that. But again, I would at least hold some FP back for that, so don't spend everything. Now, again, that's your 10 campaigns, but there's still more. And one of those is the special summon. This is your 5-star ticket. I actually made a video back in January totally analyzing this and going through all of it, and nothing really should have changed in my analysis of this. Basically, everything on JP since January has stayed the same. Obviously, we have a couple of new units that have come out that have upped the damage bar in some cases, like Kukulkan and, again, Tiamat. But realistically speaking, the evaluation of all of these units should stay the same. So that video is still highly relevant. I highly recommend going and watching it for any of the analysis, any of the breakdowns on any one of these units, as I spend the time to go over and talk about all of them. And again, this is free, even for those of you guys that already had the SSR ticket last year. You should also be getting this one here. So this is really good. This is a permanent one for everyone. So essentially, regardless of how long you've been playing, you will get an SSR ticket here. And now, for those people that start the game after this point, this SSR ticket will be there for them to choose from. So it's a really, really good thing. Highly recommend, again, like I said, you go watch the video on it and look at it. And again, if you have any new friends, anyone that's starting out the game, feel free to send that to them as well, so that they have some idea about who to choose, because I talk all about that for like new and old players as to what their considerations might be. Now, again, there is going to be a trial quest for Koyanskaya of Light, who is going to be our banner unit. So make sure you find the time to do that, at least, as again, you're going to get a free ticket from that. And that's just a normal summon ticket for anyone who's new. That is not the SSR ticket. And we have the Servant Strengthenings. I'm going to go ahead and skip over this real quick, and we're going to come right back to it. We also had the Da Vinci Workshop, where basically you're going to have a limited time sort of refresh. So the way it's going to work is all of your Da Vinci shop stuff that you may have already purchased for the month will be there again. There will be two sets of them. There's going to be the normal set and now the anniversary set. And so, as you guys can see, there's some nice stuff in here. Also, the rare prism exchange will be doubled up, so that's going to be really good there. Again, they also end up increasing the exchange limit here for the faux paw prints, so that you can now exchange for more of them. Being only able to exchange for one a month is an abysmally low amount, and I'm still going to say that only being able to exchange for 3 a month is still an abysmally low amount. But I'm not going to get into that. I have issues with how they manage the pacing of the faux paw prints. Again, most of the game updates here we should have. For instance, we have every single unit in the game has the full screen Noble Phantasm, so that's not an issue. And then the summon screen update, I believe we also have already on NA, so don't worry about that. That's not going to be a thing. However, I do think you might see another like quality of life suite come to NA, where they start bringing in, you know, some of the other quality of life that JP has gotten more recently. I wouldn't expect a huge amount, but hey, I would expect that they probably do something for Anniversary, especially as I pointed out, it appears that we're missing 2 to 3 of those campaigns because we've already gotten their benefits earlier. So again, just real quick here, looking at the Servant Strengthenings, and just to talk about that, essentially, you're going to get the upgrade to Lily's Intuition. And what this one does here is this is going to add to her, again, NP charge. That's going to be the big reason that this one's nice. Remember that with Oberon coming into the game, any unit that has even 10% charge can be made to 3-turn. So it is really nice in that regard. And so just getting charge on any of these units that didn't have it before is always going to be a solid thing. And honestly, Lily's NP damage is not that bad. Again, right here, you guys can see this is going to be the upgrade to Mozart's second skill here. He kind of gets the same treatment that Janu got, where he has the ability to reduce one servant's NP damage, and now it's going to change instead to one enemy's NP damage, so it's not specific to a servant. And then he's also getting the arts resistance and critical attack chance up on himself there. Or sorry, arts resist down and critical attack chance down on the enemy as well. So he's further getting cemented as just a nice quality debuffer, someone who can buff the party, come in, star bomb the party, and then debuff an enemy, and then, you know, you can sacrifice him, get him out of there, do whatever you want. So he's definitely getting a nice upgrade with that one. Day 2 here is going to be Ozzy's NP interlude. This is a huge one for him. This actually is what really finally just separates him from Ketz in terms of damage. For years, they had been very similar. But again, Ozzy's NP damage interlude here is really nice because it's going to also allow him to bring the sun. And if you guys remember, the upgrade to his charisma earlier in the year gave him the ability to sort of deal more damage on sunlight battlefield. So this is just really, really solid for him, as now he's going to be one of the units that can do it. And then he also is going to be able to reduce his own skill cooldowns, which is kind of nice for him in the Koyan Sky system. I actually talked about that in my Buster system review, that as I was going through each one of the units, that Ozzy has some interesting uses because of that. So again, go check that out if you want to see. And from there, we also get Matahari's, again, Star Gen here. And basically, she needed an upgrade. As you guys can see, that Espionage here was just star generation rate for 3 turns of 30%. And it gets upgraded to having party critical damage for 3 turns of 50%. As well as the star rate going up to 100%. So this makes her a lot more capable of generating stars. And not just, again, her, where it was before, just herself for 3 turns of 30%. Now it's party of 100% for 3 turns. So everybody generates stars. So this makes her a lot more usable, a lot more decently niched in terms of helping the party out in that regard. Now, again here, that was day 2. Day 3, you guys are going to see the upgrades to Yuri Pirates to their guts here, and then again to Cursed Arm for his NP. Now, them finally getting Docking Assault, them finally getting guts. The Yuri Pirates were another really decent unit over time, but the biggest issue that they had is that their Rider form never actually had guts. And so because they had low HP memes on their NP, that is, the less HP that they have, the more damage they do, not having a guts was kind of difficult for them, because it meant that you had to take a risk with getting them low on HP, and it also meant that you couldn't do something like, try to get them taunt killed or Chin Gong sacrificed or something like that. Now, having a guts, they can do this, and this is going to allow them to realize the full extent of their power, which, again, as you guys can see, definitely helps out damage capabilities. And then, again, with Hassan of the Cursed Arm here, he gets an upgrade to his NP, and I actually talked about this pretty extensively in the video, talking about all these strengthenings and interludes, that essentially my issue with this is just that it only grants charge if he succeeds on instant kill. Whereas I thought that it actually should have been handled the other way around, where if he failed, he got charged in order to be able to come back and do it again, rather than, hey, I succeeded. And I understand some people felt like that was saying that he should be punished for success. The problem is it can get really hard to death proc at certain points in this game. So I kind of just felt like this was, while a decent upgrade, that the 50% charge here is so situational that it is extremely hard to count on or utilize for yourself. Still, he does get the 20% extra attack there, and just sort of the standard increases to his NP amount, so it is a nice buff for him regardless. Next up here, we've got Cersei, and again, that's going to be her NP interlude, as well as Leonidas's, did that open the right pages? Yes. As well as Leonidas's guts. So, again, just kind of coming in here and talking about this. Cersei is someone that really did need an NP interlude. Single target casters have long had issues with their overall damage output, and this just is kind of going to help her have the capability to deal more damage, since she already kind of didn't deal a lot. And then on top of that, she has the ability to remove the offensive buffs here, which is at least somewhat useful. It could certainly cut down on the damage getting dealt to your party in the interim, but I think probably the big factor here is going to be the ability to remove, again, sort of invuln, pierce, and something like that that might be able to get through your party's defenses and really cause you harm. So it is a nice one for her to have. Again, Leonidas, like we talked about, is getting the buff to his battle continuation, and he started out with a one-time 5 turns, 2,500 HP guts there, and it gets changed over into a one-time 5 turns, but stackable with other guts, that also then grants an on-attack activate buff for 3 turns, that whenever guts is activated, increases the party's attack by 20% for 3 turns. So, again, if he dies, he's going to now give even more to the party, which is really, really solid of him. And then the guts also got increased in amount up to 5,000 HP, which is another really, really solid one. Okay, so then next up here we have Ku and Proto Ku here, and it's basically going to be both their NP interludes. So looking at this one, honestly, QOL here is just really solid, as he gains the ability to remove one enemy's defensive buffs before damage. We actually had to go up against this recently on JP, and it was quite annoying. So certainly nice that he gets this upgrade, as it's going to make it so that he can't really be stopped unless the enemy has unremovable debuffs, or unremovable buffs, or again some sort of buff removal resistance on them somehow. QOL is just going to carve through them like a knife through butter. They basically can't stop them, so the only thing you're going to have to watch out for is if the enemy has guts, because that will not be removed by the defensive buff removal here. And then again, as you guys can see, he just also gets the standard increase to his actual NP damage. Now, Ku Proto here gets, again, a much-needed upgrade, as, again, sort of OG Ku has had some love over time, and so Ku Proto had sort of fallen behind here, but he finally gets a nice NP interlude that's going to increase his quick performance by 20% for one turn before damage, and then deals damage that ignores defensive buffs to one enemy. And then, again, he's also going to get your standard increases to NP damage. So it basically gave him the standard increase, then gave him an extra steroid on top of that, and gave him the ability to ignore any sort of defense buff there. So not defensive buffs, but defense buffs. So anything that would basically have the normal shield symbol. Okay. And then day 6 here, you're going to get the NP interlude to Jalter, as well as Mr. Crotch Clown's Innocent Monster upgrade here. So her finally getting an NP interlude, I saw a lot of people talk about this when it happened, that Jalter didn't need one. Her damage was already so good, but I had pointed out a lot of the reasons that Jalter needed to be the damage queen, especially amongst our single target Avengers, was partially due to the fact that, yes, you had Tyra come out, and Tyra had niche damage, and again, kind of one of the issues there was that Tyra also just had more survivability and kind of was a looper in that regard. So they really needed to give Jalter some way to stand out above her, and they went with the damage route, which had already kind of been her strength. So I think it did work. And so she gets the, again, sort of standard increase to NP damage. She still inflicts buff block, but now she also gets a 30 crit star bomb, which does help address one of her major issues, being an Avenger, not having good star absorption, and her being very crit-centric in her kit, meant that she didn't really have a good way of getting stars on her. Well, I had often talked about one of the solutions to Avenger star weights being to flood the party with stars. And that is exactly what they did. That is a perfect buff for her, because this is just going to make flooding the party even easier, especially with all the buster supports that are coming out, like Clan Sky and Oberon, that both have star bombs in their kits as they are buffing the units. So it's really, really nice then that she gets this in addition to that, because it just means that every single time she fires off her NP, that is going to act like an engine for her crits and allow her to then on the next turn just start critting and getting back to the NP with maybe some nice arts crits as well. So really, really good for her to have that. Now, Mephisto, like I said, gets the buff to his Innocent Monster. And again, Innocent Monster has kind of been a cruddy skill over time. It's functionally a Fragment of 2030, but then also has the demerit of reducing defense. And now it becomes Impotent Rage, where it loses that demerit and instead gains the ability to increase own attack by 30% for 3 turns, as well as reduce all enemies' healing received for 3 turns by 50%. So it halves all the healing done to enemies, and it basically gives him a 30% 3-turn steroid here. This is a huge bump up in his damage output. And you might be wondering why that is, and the easy reason for why that is because literally Castor Ku exists and is now going to be broken AF after this, again, lost belt that we're doing here. So that's kind of one of the reasons they felt the need to kind of help Mephisto sort of keep pace. And I do think they kind of need to go back through on some of the other AoE casters and examine that to give them at least something so that they're not as anemic in comparison. But it is what it is, and it is a good upgrade for Mephisto. And then we have Erish's NP interlude, as well as Drake's buff to her her middle skill there. So Erish Erish had for a long time been someone that people had really knocked for her overall damage output. Obviously, she's a very beloved unit by a lot of people, and they finally come in and give her an NP interlude, but they don't just stop there. Not only does she get the standard increases to the amounts, but she also ends up basically getting again, a super effective modifier against enemies that have the Earth attribute, which is really solid. Then to top that off, they're also leaning into her sort of support niche by having her grant instant kill immunity for 3 turns now, as well as the ability to increase critical attack chance resistance for 20% over 3 turns. So this is just really sort of leaning into both directions. A lot of people felt that her primary use was in challenge quests and actually being good there. She still had some farming capability, having 50% charge, but a lot of what Erish did was both protect the party as well as buff the party. And so this helps that as well as giving her more damage output, so that now she is a much better unit all around. And for that, I do think this was a very solid buff, especially in the face of, again, Melisson coming out and with sort of her moving the needle so far with regards to our AoE Lancers. Now, looking at Drake here, again, Drake gets sort of the upgrade to Golden Rule here that is just going to change it from, instead of it being NP Gen of 3 turns by 45%, it now ends up becoming 45% of 3 turns, but also Buster performance of 3 turns by 20%, and defense ignore for 3 turns. Now, if you know Drake's kit, you know that she also has invuln pierce in her kit. So now she ignores defense and invuln. So there's not a lot you can do to actually stop Drake, and her getting a nice 20% buster up here is just solid. This is just going to help her overall damage output, and she has already been one of the great sort of OG units for Buster. She had already been a very prolific farmer for years, and a lot of people have used her over time and love her for that. Her card performance has been pretty stellar, so this just being an upgrade to, again, even more of that is going to just really help out her usability. And this does help her stand out, but this does, again, sort of put units like, say, Europa in a little bit of a bad spot. So that is something to consider for the future for the devs, as they haven't really given Europa a lot of attention either. But again, that is all of your strengthening quests, and I just wanted to quickly kind of summarize them and give you guys some food for thought on that. Now, in the actual summoning campaign here, you guys are going to get Koyanskaya of Light. I'm sure you've all been waiting for this. I'm not going to go through her overall kit, but I am going to say that some considerations for Koyanskaya would be obviously the fact that Oberon is coming and there may not be an overlap banner. So something you want to consider there is the fact that Oberon doesn't return for 18 months, but Koyanskaya will return in another 6 months. She will get a banner shortly after New Year's. Again, it's not a very long-lasting banner, but it is a banner that you guys can roll. So if you don't get Koyanskaya here for whatever reason, do understand there is another opportunity relatively quickly. Again, I think that's why I've said, like, Oberon to me is a unit that you guys should probably strive for, as he works for all card types and does, again, not come back for a long time. But irregardless of that, Koyanskaya is still going to be a really solid AoE assassin for you guys. She can charge the party 10%. She's got a ton of sort of firepower included in her kit with her Buster up, as well as her ability to make Buster cards generate Noble Phantasm, give a Star Bomb, and give Anti-Man attribute to her allies. So then add in the ability to reduce cooldowns with her 50% charge skill, and she is a really, really solid unit. The fact that a lot of people will argue with you as to whether or not Oberon should be gone for versus Koyanskaya should tell you exactly how good Koyanskaya can be. But again, I do think the edge is to Oberon, but again, Koyanskaya is so good that every single account should consider whether or not to roll on her. I would advise you to roll at some point, but again, it's up to you to determine how to strategize that and when to do it. Now, looking at the overall banner here, it's got a weird schedule for the rest of the units. I think how you're probably going to see this one pan out is you're probably going to see Koyanskaya get her own banner for 14 days with no one else added in. And then instead, you're very likely to see the other SSRs here get each a banner of their own for 1 day, sort of alongside. So that will mean that you won't have to be dealing with any sort of pity reset or anything like that. But it will mean that the banners are only going to have very short durations. And maybe they go for like 2 days or 3 days with it. We'll just have to see. But again, I believe that's how the other servers handled it. So just sort of adjust accordingly for any of you guys that do want to roll on some of these units. Again, the other thing to point out here is that there are story locked units here, but there are no limited units. You're not going to see any of the Lost Belt Kings here, so that is going to be a little bit of your problem as you kind of move forward. But looking at the actual rate up craft essences, Summer Anniversary is going to be the big one that I wanted to talk to you guys about. As again, this one is all attack scaling. It starts battle at 60% gauge, so it is a rare 60% CE, and for that reason it can actually be pretty good since it's both Buster Up and Buster Crit performance by 20%. So it is a extremely solid CE. This does not mean that you have to roll here though, but it is nice for those of you guys that do not have a 60% CE otherwise. However, there will probably be another 60% CE coming up real soon here. When we get the Lotto on NA, probably after 6.3, that banner, if you should so choose to roll it, will have Battle Olympia, which is another really solid all attack scaling 60% CE. So again, it's something that you guys will want to pay attention to, but it's up to you to determine whether or not you wish to roll based off of just a craft essence alone. And then again, there is the new craft essence Wizard Marshal added at this time, or as people like to call it, OK Scope, or again, Wrong Scope. It's essentially a K-Scope where if you guys actually MLB it, you will get 100% charge, but unlike normal K-Scope, it is not attack scaling. It is all HP scaling. So for a lot of people, this is a less desirable one, and the fact that it doubles your odds of getting a really good charge sheet, but it sort of dilutes the pool for getting the one that you actually want. It has a very mixed reputation amongst a lot of people. It's not a bad craft essence, especially for any of you guys that don't have a K-Scope yet, but certainly I think a lot of people would just rather prefer that they had rolled a K-Scope instead of rolling a Wizard Marshal. So it is up to you to determine whether or not you like it, but I wouldn't recommend burning it. You never know, it might be useful on a support at some point. But again, that is not on rate up, so it's just now going to be available in the summoning pool. Again, there's the Lucky Bag Summoning Campaign and the pre-campaign. So at this point, we've pretty much gone through everything with regards to the anniversary. So again, let me know what you guys think. What are you guys most looking forward to? What quality of life do you think we'll be getting in place of some of those missing campaigns? I'll be curious to read your thoughts, and I will see you guys for the next one.